Oh,
So recording is in progress now, and for those of you here in front of me, and those of you who I know will be watching on replay, because there was a lot of excitement about this, I'd like to introduce Suzanne Lane, who I have known for, oh God, I don't know, a couple
well,
of
over 20
decades, Suzanne.
years.
A long time, okay? And as you will have read, she is a woman of many, many, many talents. And I was talking to her a little while ago about these empowerment cards, and I just thought they were such an interesting concept. And I invited her to share her wisdom around here. So she's going to share a little bit about herself, how she developed the cards, how they work and everything. I've given her total freedom to do what she wants, okay?
Oh,
But you will enjoy this amazing lady. So, and Suzanne, thank you so much for giving up your time today to share this wonderful wisdom with us. Thank you very
oh,
much.
thank you. Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to talk to you all, and I'd love to tell you all about what I'm trying to do and how I'm trying to do it. So what I'm going to start with doing, if you don't mind, is just give you a tiny bit of background, because everything that I've done has been a journey in itself. And I think, like most of us, we end up thinking we're going to do one thing and end up our journey being twists and turns. And it's so appropriate to be talking to Maddie today, because she was such a massive, massive influence on the way I do things and how I do things now. But you were, Maddie, you really, really were, because I think one of the most important things, or one of the biggest turnarounds for me, was in the early 2000s. I went to just about every workshop Maddie was giving. I could not have enough of them. And I kept repeating them as well. Maddie says, "Would you really keep needing to repeat?" Yes, I do. And it was so important. And I carry with me to this day some of the incredible wisdom that I was giving. And it's had an enormous impact on how I deliver what I deliver. And I think one of the most amazing things was doing the joy generators. And Maddie did something that I'd not seen anyone else do at the time, or since, actually, in the way that Maddie did it. When she did the joy generators, she actually stood there like she was Marilyn Monroe, and she said, "I'm so gorgeous." And I kind of realized after a while that actually that has an incredible impact. And I also realized that when I wasn't feeling too good about myself, if I stood in front of the mirror and told myself, "I'm so gorgeous," I would usually have a laugh. I'd look in the mirror and think, okay, well, I'll say it anyway. And after about a couple of weeks of saying that every single day, I found myself thinking to myself, "Oh, well, I'm not so bad, really," and become more confident and feel better. So the background of a lot of what I do comes from this innate understanding now that we hypnotize ourselves all the time by what we're telling ourselves. So although I do use energy medicine, I use it all the time. What I actually also do is I try and understand, in the same way that Maddie's working with empowerment, I'm working with it in a slightly different way. I had a background of doing readings, and I found that doing the readings and all the work that I was doing with readings had innate problems. And I'm awfully sorry, but I've just realized that my mail is still on. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll turn it off. Otherwise, every time I get an email, you will get a ping. So if I could just quit mail, I'm so sorry. Right, should stop all those pings. So basically, I started giving readings as a teenager, but I quickly realized that readings aren't really very helpful at all. In fact, they're not helpful. And so I went backwards and forwards dealing with these readings over the years, realizing that it's not something I wanted to really do. And yet I still found myself being called to do them. I do a lot of work with crystals as well, so I found them becoming part of my life. And then I realized something, or stumbled across something even more powerful. I stumbled across numerology. And I realized that numerology unlocks a code in our birth. It tells us something about ourselves, and it helps us understand the signposts in our lives. So my journey starts now, or the work that I do now has got more to do with the combination of numerology readings and crystals to actually help somebody understand their path. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. Help people understand their path, understand their strengths and weaknesses. And then beyond that, I suddenly realized that once they had started to understand where they were going, that didn't really help them change how they dealt with things unless they looked at the words that they were using, how they were dealing with their life, what was happening. So when I was doing numerology, I would start off and I would look at somebody's, so is somebody there would like to give me their numbers for me to give them a demonstration while we're online to show how it works?
Now's your chance. Who's going to put up their hand? Margaret, that was good. Got that hand up quickly. Unmute yourself and then you can give her the info. Margaret, you need to press it.
Okay, what do I need to give you?
If you just give me your date of birth.
Okay, the 5th of the 4th, 1953.
5th of 4th, 1953. So in numerology, you add all these numbers up. So that's 7. So I get that 9, 10, 11, 12. Excuse me while I quickly do this. So if I make a mistake, the whole thing's wrong. So I calculate by adding all your numbers up that your destiny number is a 9. And a 9 is all about the humanitarian. So the benefits of that is being, you know, your destiny number is to learn to see the big picture. So that's what it's all about for you. And that's what your journey's been about. And you do that, your approach, how you go about it, is being a 5. So, and a 5 is all about being flexible and being able to change. But there's always pluses and minuses with these numbers. There isn't a good number or a bad number. So the thing about a 9 is that you get to see the good big picture and you're learning how to see the big picture. The difficulty with the 9 is quite often 9s don't know how to say no. So they end up, you know, trying to be, you know, do everything for everybody and, you know, wear themselves out. And 5, to go along with that, is about being flexible. So that's 5 is often called the perfect number. So it's a good number to be. So your goal is also a 9. So you've got a goal and your destiny number and your goal are linked. So when I see it like that, it's kind of a little bit smooth, because if you actually work out how to deal with your destiny number, then your goal will follow, because it's the same number. So it's nice and easy for you. Other people, not quite so easy. And then, of course, we all have a number that works against us. So, and yours is also a 9. So you've got a very unusual set of numbers. So, and because the challenge for you is your 9, it means on the one hand, it's helping you. On the other hand, it's giving you problems. So I would assume that the big problem that you've got with that 9, thank goodness for that 5, by the way, the big problem with that 5 is quite often allowing yourself to be overwhelmed with everybody else's problems. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but that's how numerology it works. It gives you signposts. It shows you how to you know, what's going on in your life and how perhaps you could move in different directions, or how to meet those challenges. And as we all have different challenges. Oh, sorry, Madison.
No, I want to ask it because I know it's going through all their heads. Are you doing numerology consultations online still?
Oh, yes, I do. All the, I connect, when I'm doing it, I connect them with the crystals, because and also with cards, because then I can see, with doing a consultation, how the destiny works.
I know you did one for me a while ago, and it is multifaceted. It's numerology, it's crystals, it's tarot, it's everything, you know. So I don't want to interrupt you anymore, but just so if anyone wants to get hold of you for a treatment, they could PM you on Facebook, couldn't they?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, please feel free to.
I know, because I'm getting all excited and I think I'm due for another reading.
Oh, yes, you must come to another reading.
I'm going to shut up now.
So basically what all this is about is once we found out your destiny number, we've got a clue about you. And once we've got a clue about where you're going and what the plus is and what are the more difficult things, then we can home in and see what different things you need help with. Now, I always think as well, I mean, I'm going to move away from the numerology and then move back to it. But I just wanted to talk to you about these little empowerment cards that I had developed, because I don't want to end up talking too much about everything else and then forgetting to tell you. So basically, using numerology again, and using that thought of what we were talking about earlier with Madison saying, I'm so gorgeous, when she was doing the joy generators, which is so wonderful. I came up with a little set of cards. I actually devised these cards based on numerology. Whoops, and they're just falling all over the place. Now, I'm sure you're all very good with self-testing, as you're all basically what these cards are about are, once we've kind of worked with ourselves, often we walk away and we are realizing that there are certain things that we ourselves find difficult.
Thank you.
And so the cards are about literally holding on to them. So they're used, the numbers are to do with the numerology. So number 1 is being independently creative. So if your destiny number was a number 1, it would, the plus is about being a number 1 is that what you're learning to be is to become independently creative. The difficulty of a number 1 is that if you don't remain strong on that course, you easily end up being dominated by someone else. So it's important to be independently creative, because that's your number. And so along in creating these cards, what I'm doing is also coming up with affirmations that work very particularly with that number, but they're not just for that person. They're for anybody who's finding that they're having a difficulty with that particular aspect at that moment. So number 2 is about collaboration. So if your number is a collaboration, if you're a number 2 destiny number, it's all about being able to work with other people and learning to work with other people and working with relationships and feeling relationships. And the difficulty is to overcome any problems with relationships. You know, so we all have, depending on the numbers around us, we'll be getting on very well with our numbers, or we'll be struggling with our numbers. If we don't like our number, when I tell you what it is, you know, quite often that means that we're not feeling very happy in ourselves anyway, because we're not feeling confident and happy with the number that we are. So if you're a 3, it's all about being expressive. If you're happy with that number, you're going out there and being social. If you're struggling, you're stuck at home in front of a computer and you don't know how to get out there. So number 4 is about building. If you're doing a good job, you're using the building, you're getting bigger, you're organizing yourself. If you're struggling with it, then you possibly either have no control or you're being over controlling. So each number has its good things and its bad things. 5 is about embracing change. So if you're really enjoying your life and doing things, 5 will help you sort of move into different areas, see different areas, be able to twist and turn. But the downside of a 5 is getting bored rather easily. You know, 6 is about love and responsibility. And so that's about being loving and loving people, feeling loved, being responsible, but more importantly, loving yourself. And when that one goes wrong, it's quite often that people don't love themselves, you know, and struggle to love others because they don't love themselves. 7 is the seeker, so it's all about thinking. So it's being able to connect, feeling connected with life, feeling your spiritual connection. When it all goes wrong, it's about overthinking everything and struggling. 8 is about creating abundance, and that's about being abundant in all things. When that goes wrong, it's a lack of abundance. And lastly, you've got the big picture, and the big picture is about seeing everything. And as I was talking with Margaret earlier, it's when it's not so good, it's when you get overwhelmed with everybody else's problems. So that's how it is. And if anybody would like a quick breakdown of those numbers, I'm very happy to email afterwards so that you have, or send it to Madison. You can distribute it, Madison, if that's all right with you. But so the cards themselves have got a little affirmation to do with each of the aspects on them. basically what they're for is to look in the mirror every day, because first thing in the morning is when we are most susceptible to struggling and having a difficult time. That's when we usually say the worst things to ourselves, you know, look in the mirror and go, oh my God, who is that person? You know, so these are about, you know, looking in the mirror. And before, you know, before that inner dialogue wakes up and says something unpleasant, you know, start your day in a really good way. So before I even do this, I always do what Maddie taught me to do years and years ago, which is to look in front of the mirror and say, you're gorgeous. And then once I've done that, I pick up my cards. And I use the sway test, but basically it's any form of self-test, whatever's your favorite form of self-test. And I know that, you know, there's lots of techniques out there that you have probably been taught, some of which I might know and some of which I probably don't. But anyway, you take the cards and you put them in front of you and just test to see if it's the right one, either by whatever method is right for you, and find the one that works for you. And once you've found the one that works for you, there's 4 different affirmations. You then choose which affirmation that is, and you look into the mirror. And here, this is the very important thing. When you cross your left and right hands, you're actually doing a bit like that, the Wayne Cook idea. You're crossing your left and right brain. And you take a very deep breath, because deep breaths oxygenate the brain. So that when you say what you say it, you are saying something, you're saying your affirmation with a fully oxygenated left and right brain in sync. And you state whatever is on the card, and you say it very intentionally to yourself, so that you're staring at yourself in the mirror. So if I look at this one, it happens to say, I am successful and confident in my abilities. So if I was saying it in front of the mirror, I would literally cross my hands, take a massive, big, deep breath, and say, I am successful and confident in my abilities. And then I would wait a few seconds and I'd take another very, very deep breath, and I would do the same. And I'd do it 3 times. And then afterwards, I would check to see if I'm now strong on that card. And if I'm strong on that card, I will either leave it, see if there's anything else I need to do for that day. If it isn't, fine, I go off. Because often if we're doing one a day, we don't have to say all of these things every day. We just have to say whatever is particularly relevant to us on that day. And it changes, because, you know, what is going on in our life changes. So there's hundreds of affirmations, and you don't really need these cards. You can use anything. These are just a very quick and easy way of reminding yourself every morning exactly what you need to do in order to move forward in a lovely sort of confident way, and make sure and remind ourselves that what we are trying to do is empower ourselves by being super confident about who we are and what we're doing as we move forward in our day. And I found when I'm dealing with people, and I've sort of told them their numerology, I've told them the complex things that they have to deal with, they then turn around and say, yes, I know that. I've always known that. You know, I do know that it's difficult for me to say no, because that's a common one for most people, not just, you know, I do know it's difficult for me to say no, but I still have trouble doing it. So how do I change the way I am? I think one of the most difficult things is we all remember the law of attraction. And the law of attraction told us that anything we asked for, we could have. But what it didn't tell us was that 95% of our brain is of our lives is operated by our subconscious mind. So, you know, we're often not really thinking about what we're doing. We might be wondering about something else, because our conscious mind can drift off into the future, and it can drift off into the past, you know, and whilst it's doing all of that, the subconscious mind is running our lives for us. But most of what's stored in the subconscious mind was popped in there between the ages of 0 and 7. And during 0 and 7, our minds aren't actively, our brains aren't, they're not developed enough to understand the emotions that we're picking up during that time. So if we imagine our mind as a bus, and we've got all these little characters of ourselves sitting on the bus, quite often what happens is that when something happens that we've we've dealt with all our lives, that we have had an emotional reaction to, the most experienced member of the bus rushes forward to drive it. And if that's the one that's under 7, we're in trouble. And quite often, when it comes to something emotional, it is. It's that under 7-year-old that's driving the bus. So the point is, and we learned most of that stuff either because our minds were in a sort of theta state, so semi-hypnotic state. So we can so one of the best ways to deal with things is to tell ourselves something more than a few times is self-hypnosis. So if we keep telling ourselves we can do something, we were undoing what we've been doing for years and years and years by constantly repeating ourselves, telling ourselves we can't do something. So if we say to ourselves, oh, but I can't say no, and I'm sorry, Margaret, I'm only picking on you because it's such a good one. Lots of us suffer from that. So if we keep telling ourselves, well, I can't say no, then we're actually telling ourselves that as well. And we tell ourselves and we tell ourselves. So the point of the empowerment cards, the point of trying to find out how to change our lives is, first of all, with the numerology, unlock the code. Find out what the destiny number is, find out what our numbers are, where our complications are, where our challenges are, where we're heading, what our signposts are. And once we found them, try looking at try just working with these cards, because when we work with, or your own affirmations, if you've got the time to make them all up. But the point is that we know what's on these cards, whether we look at them or not, because our subconscious takes that on board for us. So by using something like empowerment cards or anything like that, what we're actually doing is we're using the cards to, our subconscious is picking what we need to do for that day and strengthening us so we can move forward and we can be empowered with the way that we start our day. So that's about the empowerment cards. I don't know if anybody wants to ask any questions, and if not, I'll go on about.
Does anyone have a question? Just put your hand up. If you do, I'm just going to go on gallery view, see if there's any hands. No, you explained that really well, Suzanne. No questions.
Wonderful. Well, then I was just going to move back to the numerology and just sort of talk about, if anybody wants to sort of ask me a little bit about the numerology and the numbers and their own questions on numerology and their own, if they would like to sort of have a quick idea about anything.
Well, I know that Katie, I don't know if you want to start, if there's no direct, I know Katie in chat put her hand up pretty quickly after Margaret. So may it be an idea to do Katie's numbers, which is, got a pencil there.
Yeah.
Pencil, I'm showing the age there. 12/12/1958. And then whatever comes up for her sort of leads us into that discovery of numerology for Katie. Katie, we're gonna discover all your secrets.
9, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so that's just quickly doing the calculation. Well, Katie, we could look at this in 2 ways, interestingly enough. You're either a 2 or a master 11. I can't actually see Katie. Is Katie there?
Katie, do you want to put your camera on?
Oh, there she is. So, hello, Katie. You're either, so your destiny number is a 2 or an 11. Now, what I didn't do is talk about master numbers because I didn't put those in my little empowerment deck. So interestingly, we have master numbers as well. So if you're an 11 or a 22, then we wouldn't break that down. We'd keep that at the 11 or the 22. And I've put 11 and 22 because if you do 110s and units, which is what I normally do in my calculation, you get an 11. But if you just add them up line by line, so you're the 12, so 2 and 1 is 3, 2 and 1 is 3, and 1958 is 5, you actually get to 11. So what I actually do is look at both when it's like that, because the main number is 2, which is all about relationships. But 11 is the number of the genius. It's the number of it's wanting to make a difference with your life, you know, and it's quite a powerful feeling. It's having more of a global relationship as well. So it's quite a big number to deal with. So and you won't start off being an 11, even if you are a full 11, in that it's come from the 110s units. You wouldn't start off 11, because we all start off, if we got these master numbers, we have to understand them first. We have to come to terms with them. We have to grow into them, because the master numbers are big numbers, and they provide us with a tough time getting there. So 11, whenever you have a big number like this, it often provides you with a complicated way of moving forward. Your approach, your way of dealing with 11 is a 3. And that's about being social, being creative and social. So that's a nice, happy number to work with, an 11, because it allows you to, if you want to be out there, if you want to make an impact, if you want to have a relationship with the world, with people, with being out there, then having 3 to support that too is a very nice number, because that's all about being social, as we mentioned before. Now, the other number that you've got is over in your goal is a 6. And 6 is all about being love and responsibility. So it's quite nice when you have a go at looking at different people, because it is a better and easier way of explaining the numbers by showing people. So 6 is love and responsibility. So when you learn, when that's your goal, it's about wanting to bring that into the lives of the others. Because of the 11 you're wanting to get out there, you want that to be with love and responsibility. And then sorry,
that makes total sense, because I did 4 nursing qualifications.
Ah.
I started 2 weeks after my 17th birthday, when I was allowed to start a pre-registration orthopedic nursing, and I went on to do SRN and RMN, and then work in child and adolescent mental health and family therapy, and I now run my business.
So you've really embraced your 11. You've really turned that 2 into an 11.
But I'm wondering how you go about finding the 3 and the 6. How do you find the number that supports and the number that is the goal?
Well, let me finish off by giving you your last one, your challenge, and then I can tell everybody how they can do it for themselves. So the last number you've got is an 8. And an 8 will be your challenge. And that's about abundance. Now, quite often, and it's an interesting number as well, because people who are in anything to do with complementary health, or anything to do with loving others and what have you, immediately have a problem with abundance, personal abundance, because they almost think that it's wrong to have it, you know. And you've got it as a challenge. So it is suggesting that you have an issue with sort of personal abundance and accepting personal abundance. So so let me tell you how to get your numerology, because it's so interesting. It's so you can also do numerology for the year, and see how that's impacted you as well, because obviously we're all in at the moment we're in a year 2022. Well, if you look at what's been happening, it's extraordinary. If we look at 2020, that was a master number 22 year. And in 2020, what you would expect to see is big events for 22, big events, because it's a master number. and it triggers global things. And what did we have? Global pandemics. You know, we had Brexit, you know, came to a head just before the pandemic. You know, we had, goodness knows what went on in that year. We almost had, oh no, it was 2021. We had almost had World War III with Mr. Trump. Now we've got it again. But anyway, year 5, which was 2021, was is a 5. Number is a 5, and it's all about change. So it came straight out of global pandemic and the rest of it and into change, a year 5. And then we went, and now, you know, we're in a year 6, which is all about love and responsibility. And what's the first thing that happens? Well, we're all being triggered at the moment by what's happening in the world. I mean, we've got some pretty awful things going on. So numerology impacts all of us all the time. So we have the global impact of the number. We have the personal impact of the number. If you want to find out what your personal impact is by the year that we're in, what you do is you look at the day of your birth, and you look at the day, you know, and the day of your birth and the number of your month, number of your birthday, the number of your month, and you add those together. So for you, it will be, Katie, it will be a 6 because you are 12. So 12 comes down to 3. So, and 3 and 3 is 6. So you've got 6 plus whatever year it is. So we're in a year 6. But here's the interesting thing. You're not in a year 6 because your birthday is the 12th of December. So you don't go into a year 6 until your birthday. So you're in 2021, even though, you know, and so am I, as it happens. I'm 24/11/1958. So I'm also in a year 6. So you're actually in a year 12. So you're in a social year, number 3. And you're moving into a 4, which will be a building year. So it's quite interesting what the energies are. Now, if you had a 3, for example, in 2020, when we were all in lockdown, you could either have been in 2 things. Some people embrace the internet, suddenly sat down and thought, right, okay, well, I can't meet people, so I'm going to go out now. I'm really going to embrace social media. I'm really going to understand that. I'm really going to get together with it. And they really embraced their 3 and thrived in 2020 in the middle of lockdown. Other people didn't embrace it, felt very shut off, and wanted to have the social interaction with actual people and struggled terribly. So if you had your energy, the energy of the year for you was 3 in the middle of 2020, would have been very tough. For 2020, I imagine we're 2 years back, it would have been a 1. So you were supposed to be sowing lots of seeds in year 1 in 2020. So, and you would have been right in the middle of it. So in March 2020, when it all hit, you were supposed to be sowing all these seeds. And quite often what happened to a lot of people during that time is that if they were in year 1, they'd started some projects and things like that. They had that horribly frustrating situation where all those projects were coming to an absolute halt. Because, or they took off if they were on the internet and they could have taken off. But if they weren't, a lot of projects were coming to halt. So there was lots of frustration and difficulty during that year. But it's an extreme year. It was year 22 for globally. So it caused extreme responses. So if we look at your numbers then independently, before I go off on the year too much and nobody gets to hear their own numbers, if you do 100 tens and units, and you add up the day of your birth, the month of your birth, and the year of your birth, you should come up with a number that looks like a year number. And what you do is you keep adding those numbers together until you come down to one number, unless it's 11, 22, or 33. Now, I think, I'm pretty sure in saying this, that nobody's going to get a 33 because 33, because of the fact that we're in the 19th century, that anybody born with 19 in front of them can't make it to 33. Purely because of the the way the numbers come down and you add them up. And I think also that it's not going to happen either until we get later in the century. But I think that that's, you know, it's an extreme number. It would be the number of a Buddha or of you know, very powerful person. I've not come across any 33s, and I was told that you can't make a 33, but you can make 11s and 22s. There's less of those people. The more common number is obviously the 1 to 9s. I do always double check though by doing it the other way as well, by adding the numbers up individually, because if there is 11 in there, even if it is not on the 110s and units, I still bring it in, because some people will empower there too. So like with Katie here, clearly empowered her too.
Suzanne, hold that thought, because we've got 3 hands up now, so 3 little questions. And I think in order, there was Sherry, then Rose, then Peggy. So Sherry, do you want to ask your question first?
Yes. So you said that whoever you just read had a challenge number of 8 versus the life path or the destiny number of 8. How would you interpret the life path versus the challenge number?
When I'm looking at the challenge number, I'm looking at the difficulties of that particular number, because I know that you're not going to have the benefits of that number if it's working against you. So if the number is, and it's not really working against you, it's your challenge. So you can master it. You know, if you've got, you know, if you go through life, you might find a really good way of mastering it. Other people don't master it. So these numbers are a movable feast. This is a bit like the code to your, you know, a code that you're born with. And if you crack the code, you know, your life is easier. If you don't crack the code and you don't want to know it and you don't like your numbers, your life can be a bit on the old tough side. So this is about cracking the code. And these are like little signposts. I haven't really told you how to get to I've told you how to work out your destiny number, which is just add them all up. But I should also tell you that if you add all these numbers up, the month is your approach. So it's how you go about being the destiny number. So the total number of all your numbers is your destiny number. And that's whatever that is, you then have an approach. And that will be the number of your birthday, the actual day itself. So if we can go back to Katie, if you don't mind, Katie, your birthday was the 12th. So that makes 2 and 1 is a 3. So that means how you go about things is a 3. So that's where the 3 came from when I said that Katie was social. The goal is the month and the year added together. Sorry, the month and the day added together, not the year. Apologies there. So Katie was 12 for the 12th. So she's 3 and 3, which is 6. And then your challenge is the number of your destiny added to your goal. And here's why. Because if your destiny number works for you, then it's easier to get to your goal. If you can't work with your destiny number, if you're struggling with your destiny number, then it's going to be very difficult for you to achieve your personal goals. So your challenge is your goal plus your destiny number. So once you've got your destiny number and your goal, if you add them together, there's your challenge. You know, so what can I answer? Was that all right, Sherry?
Sherry, does that help you?
Yeah, no, that was good. The only other thing I was going to say is, what if you have a 0?
You can't have a 0 unless you weren't born.
But for a challenge, could you have a 0 during a challenge time?
No, because your challenge is your destiny number plus your goal number. So nobody has it. So everybody has these numbers. Everybody has 4 numbers. But how they deal with their numbers is going to be about many other things. This is just a code that gives you some clue about your numbers, about what you came here to do. But it doesn't tell us which is why I use the cards and the crystals, because what it doesn't tell us is what challenges you chose to have along the way. So your family that you're born into, you know, you arrive in a body, and that body it carries with it some characteristics that have been inherited perhaps from the family, or you've just brought them in with you, or for whatever reason, we have these different characteristics in our lives that we have to deal with. So the numerology will tell you about the path, will give you some clue about the energy that you are dealing with, but it won't tell you, you know, your own bits and pieces around it, and how easy or difficult it is to fulfill that code. And that's what this is all about, trying to understand what that code might mean for you and what you can do to make it easier. And then the empowerment cards were a tool, if you like, to help support you in trying to make some changes and understand what that signposting is and where you're going and what you're doing.
Perfect. Thank you, Suzanne. Rose, you got your hand up next, darling.
Oh, I just realised what these hands are.
Yes, that's their little hands.
I'm so sorry.
We're very polite here. You know, we used to be doing this, and now we have little hands.
Oh.
Right. Right, lovely. Thank you, Suzanne. Really interesting. And I just kind of picked up when you started talking about 33, because my destiny number is a 33.
Oh.
And I just was kind of, oh, what are you saying there?
Mind telling me my number, your numbers?
Okay. So 0306, so 3rd of June, 1968.
So the overall number is 1977.
Sorry?
3 and so if you do 100 tens and units, yeah.
Oh, I was just counting up the numbers. So if I just count up the numbers.
No, when we do it, we do 100 tens and units.
Okay. Oh, good. So that's good.
So it's 3, 6, 1968. Yeah. So 6 and 6 is 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 6 and 1 is 7, 1977. 10 and so 10 and 7 is 17 plus 7 is 24, which means you are 6.
Then I didn't understand. Then I was just counting.
Sorry, yeah, maybe I didn't make that clear. Please all do your numbers with 100 tens and units, because that's, you know, that's how we will sort of get it to sort of add down into the smallest number. And 6 is all about love and responsibility. So it's about sort of, and obviously loving yourself is very important. Learning to love yourself, you know, and choosing really a life to love and support others. And you do that. Is another lady doing it with a 3. So being social and making sure you go out there to do it. So lovely numbers. And your goal is a 9, which is a humanitarian. And then we get, so the only thing we've got here is the challenge then would be the 9 plus the 3, which is, sorry, the 9 plus the 6, which is another 3. Is that right? Sorry, no, I've made a mistake there, haven't I? 6 and 9 is 15, so 6 is another 6. So the challenge is the 6, and the 6 is about self-love. So when you see it down there, it's often about struggling with a little bit of self-love. If it isn't, you know, it's a big number. So probably would, when I say it's a big number, love and responsibility is a very big thing. And inside that, we can have challenges that don't quite meet the ordinary, if you know what I mean, because it's such a big number. Love and responsibility covers so much. But what it's saying is your destiny number and your challenge is the same. And when it is that, it just makes it harder for you to, you know, to get to your destiny number and feel fully confident with it. That's all it means. And often people who work in the fields that we all work in actually have chosen fairly tough numbers. We don't choose easy numbers, because that's why we're coming out there and we're doing what we're doing. We haven't decided to sit at home and do nothing and quietly live our lives. Most of us are out there thinking, right, well, I'm going to try and do this and I'm going to try and do that and I'm trying to do the other. So we'll have numbers showing how we are trying to match that. You know, often when you see a 6 up there too, you know, the biggest problem again with a 6 when it's a challenge is that feeling responsible for everybody. So that becomes hard, because that's wearing, that's tiring when you feel responsible for absolutely everybody, and even those that you shouldn't feel responsible for. So it's like I say, it's a really big number, 6.
Excellent.
So,
no, you're a big number now, Rose. I wonder, and now I've got to introduce you, Suzanne, to Peggy.
Hello, Peggy.
Be prepared.
Oh, I'm going to go lower my hand now. Whoop, very good.
Right. I can't even see it on there, this hand.
Okay. I'm going to confess, I am number dyslexic. Okay, so this whole thing has been very challenging for me.
Oh.
And right now, this is what my brain looks like, even with Wayne Cook. That's scrambled numbers, okay? That's me frying pan, that's me brain. Okay, can you explain in really dumb dodo language, please?
Of course.
How you get with the year of birth, how do you get the numbers? Because anytime I add it up, it's like way high. So, I mean, how do you actually...
Can you give me your numbers? Can I do it for you?
Yeah, give her your numbers, and then she can take you very slowly through your numbers.
Yeah, remember, just imagine that as far as numbers go, I'm probably about 2 years old, okay? So you got to pitch it for dumbest ever, right?
Talk slowly, Suzanne.
Oh, well, that's, I've got to be honest. I'm gabbling away, sorry. What are your numbers, Peggy? Give me your numbers.
Okay, it's February 11th, 1951.
So 11th, sorry, I had to do it the other way. 11th of February, 1951.
Now, I can get my head round the 11 as 1 and 1. So you get 2, if I got that right. And the second month is 0. Well, it's just 2. So I get 2. So what do you do with the year?
Well, what I usually do is, did you do 110 units when you were at school? You added them in a line? No.
Nope.
Okay.
I don't even understand what you're talking about. That's just like algebra as far as I'm concerned, or calculus.
Well, what I'm doing then is I'm adding 11, I'm adding 2, and I'm adding 1951 all together. So 11 comes to 2, like you said. 2 is obviously 2nd of February is a number 2. And then 1951, I add 1 and 9, which comes to 10. Then I add the 5, which is 15. Then I add the 1, which is 16. And then I say 16 is 6 and 1 is 7.
Oh, 6. Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
So if I add them all up together.
That's 11. Yeah?
Yeah. But interestingly, because we do 110s and units, which I know you don't want to know about, but it means that you are the same as the other lady, you are an 11 and a 2. Now, isn't this extraordinary? Because you do find lots of 6s, 9s, 11s, because all of these numbers are in some way to do with making a difference. You'll find a lot of these numbers coming up. You know, they'll be in, you know, so we've got 11s, we've got 9s, you know, these numbers are 6s. They're all love, help, service, all this kind of thing, all coming up. So I then look at your approach, how you go about being an 11. And it's an 11 because your birthday is the 11th of February. So we take that 11 and we say that's how you go about being an 11 or a 2. And then we look at your goal, and that's a 4. And a 4 is about being organized and building things.
Sorry.
So,
Sorry, personal joke. And anyone who knows me. Sorry.
so you've got,
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's made my day. Thank you, Suzanne. That's the best joke I've heard in ages.
so your destiny number is a 2, in fact, but with a question mark 11. But how you go about it is 11. So you're somebody who, you know, is making, so the 11, when the 11 sits in the approach, it means slightly different than when it's a destiny number. So it's a big lot of energy going towards trying to do whatever you want. And it's all about your relationships with people, your relationship with the world, everything you do. But it's 11 is a very powerful number. It's almost like compulsion. So when you get 22s or 11s up there, you're compelled to do things, you know, which makes that 4 a lot more interesting than you probably think, because being organized, 4 is about building, being organized, being tidy, getting everything under control.
Sorry.
But if you've got the 11 and the 11 going together, the 11 and the 2, you know, it's very difficult with a big compulsion to get all this other stuff done to actually manage the 4 as well. So that's why I've got that 2 almost like that fraction that you don't like, because I'm saying, whoa, you know, there's a lot of energy and effort going into this. There's a huge amount of energy and effort going on. Personal goals are just personal goals. We can always be telling ourselves what our personal goal is. It doesn't. The obstacle, if you like, or the challenge, I like to say challenge, is a 6. And that's about being self-loving. It's about, as we were saying before, it's about feeling responsible for everyone. This is when it's working against you. So it's like being hypercritical of yourself, all these kind of things. So is that helpful?
Yes, it is actually. It was the tidy word that actually just kind of floated my boat, but the rest of it I think is spot on. And I think kind of what I'm getting from that is lots of energy and channeling that. And unfortunately, the banks of my whatever stream have difficulty organizing it. And, you know, unless it's to do with work. And in that, I am utterly focused. God knows where it comes from, but I am utterly focused.
That's where the compulsion will come. So that's the disorder comes from the fact that the mind is just so focused, but it's being channeled. So when you get that kind of channeling, that kind of focus going on with 11, it's like, it's almost like you can't see stuff. So I mean, you know, you can walk into, all you can see is what's in front of you when you're busy, and when you're doing what you're doing, all you can see is what's in front of you. What you can't see is, oh, there's that cup of coffee there. Oh, whoops, it's gone on the floor. You know, it's, you know, because the concentration is so focused on the, you know, on what you're doing. So
that's interesting. Thank you. That actually, because I kind of actually have to feel what you're saying, and then I can get what you're saying. So the numbers kind of go over there somewhere. It's not so important.
Numbers are they're just signposts. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh, that's helpful. Thank you. Now I kind of get a feeling of it.
Thank you. Go tidy up now. And now, Susanna, you've been very patient.
Sorry, Susanna.
Hello.
Would you like me to do? Hello.
I'm thoroughly enjoying that. Thank you. Is it possible that the challenge number equals the goal number?
It can be both. Yeah.
It can be both.
Did you want me to look for you?
Please. Yes.
What are your numbers?
26/6/1966.
Now, 1966 is an interesting year. I'm sure you've heard this before, because the Chinese not very pleasant about 1966. But
yes, the fire horse.
But it was a year 22. So you were born in a year 22. And as you know, 2020 was a year 22. So it's a year of extreme things going on. anybody who's born in that kind of year has been born at a time of things being extreme. So there is a kind of a feeling of that within your life. There'll always be a feeling of that within your life to a certain extent, because you were born in that year. You carry that with you, the energy of that year. So let's have a look and see what we've got here. So did you add it up to 10, 19, 27? Did you get a 9 as the overall one?
Yes, I did.
So did you get an 8 as your approach?
8 approach, yes.
Yeah.
That's
and
correct.
then 5 as your goal.
Oh no, I got a 6. I don't know why I got a 6. 5.
What have I done?
5, is it like 26 plus 6?
Wait a minute, maybe I'm 8, okay, 10, 12, 13, 14. 8 and 6, so 26 is an 8, yeah?
Right.
Your birthday number. And the month is a 6, yeah? So 8 and 6 is 14.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and 4 and 1 is 5.
Oh, right, okay. That's
Yeah.
one.
So you've got, and then you've got the 9 and the 5 again, which is 14 again. So your goal and your, you're quite right, your goal and your challenge is a 5.
Right.
So, and 5 is called the perfect number because it's the person who's, 5's all about accepting change, feeling at one with change, being good with change, loving travel, movement, action. The downside of 5, so basically it just means that you're embracing both. The downside of 5 is you get bored easily, so it is.
Yes, that resonates.
And if you're kind of trying to get something done, I mean, and that 9 is, it makes it a little bit awkward for you because the 9 is all about the humanitarian. And the humanitarian finds it difficult to say no. And the 5 then can become a bit of a distraction instead of being, it kind of pulls you a little bit away of focusing. You're an 8, your sort of approach. So you're trying to get everything together. You're trying to do what you need to do and push it forward and be orderly about it. I mean, 8s are very, very good at taking control, managing, being their own bosses, pushing things, managing stuff and being on top. But the 5 is about change. And that 5 is a bit of a nuisance, that's all. But we all choose a challenge. Sometimes the most difficult number, you can have a wonderful destiny number and none of the numbers support it, So what's the good of that? I mean, my destiny number is actually a 22 and lots of people have said, oh, you're lucky it's 22. Well, you're not lucky if the numbers around it don't support it, because all it means is you end up having a compulsion to do write all. I mean, I have a compulsion to constantly come up with ideas and get, but the numbers surrounding it are not very good for me to actually get them out there. So if you go into my study, you'll find books, loads of things that have been developed, hundreds of files on this I've done and that program and this, but I haven't done anything with it, because before I can actually do anything with it, I'm on to the next thing. Oh, I must do this, so
I know that.
So your numbers,
yeah.
yeah. So your numbers are, they can be, you can have a great number in one place that you really want to do something with, but the other numbers aren't very helpful. I mean, I have a 3, for example, in my obstacle. So that basically means for me is that I'll be really busy and I've done some really great work in the middle of it. And then I get a phone call. My partner will say, hey, how about coming along and doing so-and-so? And I'll say, oh, what a good idea. And I'll rush off and forget about what I was doing, And then when I go back to it, I've got to start at the beginning again. So, so that's my 3 working, my obstacle is to actually think, no, which is what I'm learning to do as I've matured, is to not rush off the minute somebody phones me up and says, how about going to this, and actually doing what I'm supposed to do. So this is what it's all about. The numbers are a signposts. They offer us challenges and they offer us ideas of what we want to be looking at. Oh, I've got some more ticks now. Is that all right?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
That's fantastic. And Zelda, I think that's going to be the last. We've been going on and we kept you an hour, Suzanne. Thank you. So Zelda, what? Go off mute.
Okay, so
That's it.
Oh, there you are. Lovely.
sorry.
Oh, I've lost you.
Zelda, you have to. That's it.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi there. Hello. I just wanted to ask about my numbers, if that's okay.
Of course.
Thank you. Shall I give them to you?
Yes, of course.
It's 26 of the 1st, 1972.
So have you tried adding them all up?
No, sorry, I didn't quite understand that, to be honest.
Oh, no,
my
no worries.
math brain wasn't working.
No worries.
Sorry.
No. So you put them into a. I was only asking so that I can check it back quickly and make sure my maths is all right.
Oh, okay.
So I make you. If you add them up in 110 units, you get 1999. 3 9 is 27 and 1 is 28. 2 and 8.
I understand
1.
what you mean now. That's what I didn't understand. Yes, got you.
So you're a
Yes.
1.
Okay.
Your approach is an 8. And what have you got here? Your goal is a 9.
Okay.
And you've got that 1 working as your challenge as well, because 9 and 1 is 10, so that's a 1 again.
Okay.
So when you've got a destiny number, I think I mentioned before, destiny number and a challenge is the same number, it's tricky. It's a bit on the old tough side, because at the end of the day, what's going on here is your destiny number, what you've got to achieve is the same as what your challenges are.
Right.
You know, so it just means you've chosen a bit of a tough old journey here. But, you know, you've got an 8 supporting that as your approach. And an 8 is somebody who can manage things and get things done. The pluses and the minuses of the 1. 1's about being independently creative. But when it's working against you, it often means that you find yourself at everybody else's beck and call.
Yeah.
In a different kind of way to 9, because it's more like it's very important that you keep your independence and your power. And that's your challenge, to hold on to that power and not allow it to become drained by other people and other things that are going on in your life.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means anything to you.
You know, it means a lot. It really speaks to me, actually. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Suzanne.
Thank
you've just
you.
had the sort of tip of the iceberg here, really. So, as I say, if any of you want to have a private session with her, yes, Dan Millman's is a great book to read. I read him so many years ago. So good. And it's interesting because for us, you know, this is one set of signposts. You know, you have your elements, the 5 elements. You know, what your primary element is another one. Your sensory type, your astrological sign. You know, they're all different signposts which can help us find our way through the labyrinth, you know. But I love the way you've put it together in your consultations with the crystals, with the tarot, with the numerology, and all the special sort of Suzanne Lane magic ingredient. But Celia asked a question in chat about how it goes in with the elements. And yeah, you can just see how it fits in. And when I know some of your elements, and when you were describing with the numerology, I thought, yes, that fits her right as a fire or as a whatever, you know, so it's fantastic. If we want to buy, someone's asked, can't wait to buy your cards. This is Katie Marianne. How do we do this?
Well, currently, if you wouldn't mind visiting my website, which is lifequest1to1.co.uk.
Did you join our Facebook group?
I didn't know how to do it, actually, Madison.
Okay, well, if you send me that link to your website, LifeQuest.
What I'll do is, if I can send you the link, what I'll do is I'll send you the link to the shop.
Perfect. Yes, if you send that to me, and then I'll post it on our Facebook page.
Lovely. Thank you. That's
Anything
wonderful.
you want to share with the group, you send to me and I'll pop it on the page.
Oh,
'Cause
Mark, because I can also give you, I've got somewhere where I've done kind of a generic write-up of the numbers as a sort of aid
fantastic.
memoir, if anybody would like that.
Oh,
So
yes.
I can,
Yes, again, if you send that to me, what tends to happen on EEM Europe is I'll put the recording up when we finish, and then in the thread we try and keep it all in the same thread so it's easy to find. I can put your link to your shop, to your website, and any PDF you want to send us.
lovely.
That
Well,
would be, that's very generous of you, Suzanne. Thank you.
you're very welcome. So where do I find, though, that this wonderful group? Because I would very much love to.
I
come
sent you an
myself.
invitation, but I'll
you.
send you
Well,
another
how
one,
I
and
missed
I'll talk privately with you. You just accept the invitation and then you come in, and you can be an honorary member.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. How lovely. I would love
Oh,
that.
I see our techie, look everyone, our techie wizard Terry has got your Life Quest 1-to-1 link up there. So everyone pop on the
Hopefully-
chat and you can
Hopefully
see
the cards, because the website is actually under construction at the moment. So at the
I know
moment,
that feeling. I know
yeah.
that feeling.
Yes, it's complicated. So lovely. Well, I'll make sure I'll get everybody, and thank you so much for listening. It's been lovely to talk to you all.
Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom, but with such enthusiasm. You know, all your many, many years of experience, you would still retain that that beginner's mind, that enthusiastic mind. And I know that you go from thing to thing, but you take what you need from each of the things you study, and it all comes together in one beautiful package with you, Suzanne. And thank you for sharing that with us today.
Lovely. Thank you.
So,
thank you, everyone.
thank you. Now comes the nasty thing.
Oh dear.
I hate this. I'm going to press the red button, which will end it. But let's all put our hands on our heart and let's send love and thanks and gratitude to our lovely Suzanne.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Bless you all.